and what's best for the people be what's running the thing. We're letting the thing be run by the people that are in power, that are corrupt, that want to keep the power.
If she didn't really know what was going on, right, which is what she's probably going to say later, I had no idea what my husband and his associates were doing. We'll wait and see what that is, but I think it's pretty freaking ironic.
The drama surrounding Sunny Hostin and her husband, Dr. Emanuel Manny Hostin, has taken a shocking turn, and it's the kind of story that keeps you glued to your seat. Imagine waking up one morning, sipping your coffee and scrolling through the latest headlines, only to see that the husband of one of daytime television's most outspoken hosts has been named in a massive legal battle. This isn't just any lawsuit. It's a jaw-dropping case that includes nearly 200 defendants and allegations so wild they could rival the plot of a legal thriller. Dr. Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon with a decades-long career, is now at the center of what's being called one of the biggest lawsuits ever filed under the RICO Act in New York. And Sunny Hostin, well, let's just say the heat has been turned up on her public persona like never before.
According to the documents, he knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services, including arthroscopic surgeries.
So let's break it down. Dr. Manny Hostin is widely regarded in his field and has been running his own practice, Hostin Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, since 2006 with credentials from prestigious institutions like Johns Hopkins. You'd think his reputation would be untouchable. But now, allegations are swirling that he was involved in fraudulent medical practices. According to the lawsuit, he's accused of performing unnecessary surgeries, billing for treatments that may not have even happened, and pocketing kickbacks disguised as legitimate payments. If true, it's the kind of scheme that could shake public trust in the healthcare system to its core.
Emanuel denied the allegations via a statement through his lawyer, telling Daily Mail that his client, quote, denies each and every allegation and that the lawsuit is a blanket scattershot.
The scale of this lawsuit is staggering. This isn't just about one doctor or one clinic. This is a web of alleged fraud involving nearly 200 defendants, including other medical professionals and healthcare facilities. The plaintiff, American Transit Insurance Company, claims that they were billed for millions in what they're calling fraudulent healthcare services. These procedures were often tied to New York's no-fault insurance laws, which are designed to cover medical expenses quickly for people involved in car accidents, regardless of who's at fault. But here's the kicker. These laws, while well-intentioned, are being accused of creating a loophole ripe for exploitation. And that's where Dr. Hostin allegedly comes into the picture.
RICO case ever filed in the state of New York. You guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia.
According to the claims, many of the patients involved were rideshare drivers, people who depend on their cars for their livelihoods. The lawsuit alleges that some of these drivers involved in minor accidents were recommended for invasive surgeries they didn't necessarily need. Think about it. A fender bender that might normally result in a physical therapy referral suddenly turns into a full-blown surgical procedure. And the insurance companies? They're left footing the bill for what they argue are inflated or outright fraudulent claims. It's not just about the money here. It's about trust. Patients rely on their doctors to make decisions in their best interest, not to see them as dollar signs. But let's not forget, these are allegations, not proven facts. Dr. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Thwaites, has come out swinging, calling the lawsuit meritless and claiming it's a desperate attempt by American Transit to recover funds as they teeter on the edge of financial collapse. Sunny Hostin herself has also chimed in, describing the case as a smear campaign designed to exploit her celebrity status. She's accused American Transit of plastering her family's photos across tabloids in an effort to sway public opinion against them. In her own words, her family remains unbowed, and she's vowed to fight back with a countersuit for defamation.
So we know Sunny Hostin and her husband, Dr. Emanuel Hostin, are preparing for a legal battle to fight accusations that he committed federal insurance fraud.
What makes this case even more explosive is how it's entangled with Sunny's public image. As one of the co-hosts of The View, Sunny is known for her sharp opinions and willingness to tackle controversial topics head-on. She's built a reputation as a champion for justice, often using her platform to call out systemic issues in politics, society, and yes, even healthcare. But now, the tables have turned, and Sunny finds herself in the uncomfortable position of being on the defensive. Critics have been quick to jump on the irony of her situation, pointing out the disconnect between her on-air persona and the allegations facing her husband.
And it's a very serious crime. In fact, it's one of the largest, if not the largest, RICO case in New York's history.
And then there's the wild card in all of this. Joe Rogan, the outspoken podcaster, wasted no time roasting Sunny and The View, accusing her of hypocrisy and questioning how much she really knew about her husband's alleged activities. Rogan has a way of cutting through the noise, and he didn't hold back when he described The View as a rabies-infested henhouse where sensationalism often trumps substance. He even joked about the collective intelligence of the hosts, a jab that, while harsh, resonated with his audience. Rogan's fans flooded social media with memes and comments, turning this legal drama into a full-blown cultural moment.
of Sunny Hostin on The View, Tom, basically implicating her husband in this type of a scheme.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For all the headlines and speculation, the legal process has only just begun. Dr. Hostin hasn't been found guilty of anything, and his attorney has made it clear they intend to fight the claims vigorously. What's at stake here isn't just Dr. Hostin's career, it's also the integrity of the healthcare system and the public's trust in it. If these allegations prove to be true, it could expose deeper issues within the industry, from the vulnerability of insurance systems to the ethical obligations of medical professionals.
And they're essentially saying that it's a money grab. And they're also going to countersue for millions of dollars, $5 million.
Meanwhile, American Transit Insurance Company has its own motives to consider. This is a company that, according to some reports, has faced financial struggles and accusations of mishandling claims in the past. Are they genuinely trying to expose a massive fraud ring, or is this a last-ditch effort to shift blame and recover losses? It's a question that adds another layer of complexity to an already tangled situation. And let's not forget the human element here. For the patients allegedly caught up in this mess, this isn't just a legal battle, it's personal. Imagine trusting a doctor with your health, only to find out later that your treatment might have been unnecessary or even harmful. The emotional and physical toll of such an experience can't be overstated, and it raises important ethical questions about the responsibilities of medical professionals.
But it's just, I mean, you're married, Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to.
As the lawsuit unfolds, all eyes are on Sunny Hostin and how she navigates this storm. Will she continue to defend her husband publicly, or will she take a step back to protect her own career? And what about The View? The show thrives on controversy, but this kind of personal drama could be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's the kind of headline-grabbing story that keeps viewers tuning in. On the other hand, it puts a spotlight on Sunny that could overshadow the show's broader mission of fostering meaningful dialogue.
Some nefarious stuff. Let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures.
And then there's the question of public perception. Sunny has built her career on being outspoken and unapologetic, but this scandal tests the limits of her credibility. How do you reconcile her calls for accountability and justice with the allegations facing her own family? It's a contradiction that hasn't gone unnoticed, and it's one that both her critics and supporters are grappling with. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the drama shows no signs of slowing down. With each new revelation, the story becomes more complex, pulling in new players and raising new questions. What started as a legal dispute has turned into a cultural moment, sparking debates about ethics, accountability, and the role of public figures in the court of public opinion. And as Sunny Hostin herself would probably admit, this is far from over. The next chapter promises to be just as explosive, and you can bet we'll be watching every twist and turn. Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started.
But it does not look well when your name ends up with 200 people in a RICO investigation. This is the biggest investigation since Giuliani shook the tree and a bunch of mobsters fell out, right? This is big stuff. And so, thank you for bringing that video. It sure is ironic that she's up there. So, but
the storm surrounding Sunny Hostin doesn't just end with the legal drama involving her husband. Oh no, this is Sunny we're talking about, a woman who has made a career out of fiery opinions and bold statements on national television. And it just so happens that when you spend years calling out others, it's only a matter of time before people start turning the lens back on you. The accusations of hypocrisy against Sunny have been coming fast and furious. And honestly, can you blame people? Between her husband's legal troubles, her controversial takes on The View, and her knack for stirring the pot, there's a lot to unpack here.
Sunny Hostin of The View, who's constantly raging about race and reparations and how bad America is and its racial past and all this stuff.
Let's start with her on-air persona. Sunny has always been one to speak her mind, often wearing the badge of moral superiority as if it were a crown. She's not shy about calling out systemic issues, political figures, or even her own co-hosts when they don't align with her worldview. But the problem is, when you position yourself as the ultimate truth teller, people expect you to live up to those same standards. And right now, critics are having a field day pointing out the contradictions between her public stance and her private life. Take her comments about Melania Trump, for instance, because who could forget that? Just a few episodes ago, Sunny went on a tirade claiming, I think she hates him. She doesn't want to be the first lady anymore. She doesn't stray the rose garden. Who hates Christmas? Melania Trump hates Christmas. Now, whether you agreed with her or not, it was vintage Sunny, unfiltered, biting, and full of speculation. But here's the kicker. While Sunny was busy psychoanalyzing Melania on national television, her own husband was allegedly entangled in a scandal that could send shockwaves through the medical community. To her critics, the irony practically writes itself.
The delusion of saying that he has kindness in his heart. He's so mean.
She called him positive.
He's the meanest president we've ever had. And I was around when Nixon was here.
Even within The View's own panel, Sunny has sparked disagreements that have left viewers and her co-hosts raising their eyebrows. Remember when Alyssa Farah Griffin couldn't hold back and snapped, "I don't think white women like being called uneducated white women." That was in response to Sunny's claim that uneducated white women were to blame for Donald Trump's recent victory. Sunny later tried to walk it back, saying she meant non-college educated white women, but the damage was already done. Comments like that don't just fade into the background. They stick, and they give her critics more ammunition to question her credibility.
You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right.
So why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms, and why do you think Latino men voted in favor of someone that's going to deport, says he's going to deport the majority of his community?
And let's not overlook how Sunny's stance on accountability has evolved, or should we say conveniently shifted, depending on who's in the hot seat. For years, Sunny has been a vocal advocate for justice and transparency, often hammering home the idea that no one, not even those in power, should be above scrutiny. Yet now, when the spotlight is on her own family, she's singing a slightly different tune. Her defense of her husband has been passionate, yes, but also notably evasive. Critics have pointed out that while she's quick to demand accountability from others, she's less forthcoming when it comes to addressing the allegations against Dr. Hostin. And that, for many, feels like a double standard.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah.
One of the most fascinating aspects of this saga is how it highlights the fine line Sunny walks between being a television personality and a public figure. On one hand, she's a co-host of The View, a show that thrives on heated debates and polarizing opinions. On the other hand, she's a lawyer and a self-proclaimed advocate for justice, which means people expect her to practice what she preaches. But here's the thing, when you're a public figure, your words don't exist in a vacuum. They're scrutinized, dissected, and yes, sometimes weaponized against you. And right now, Sunny is learning that lesson the hard way. The backlash hasn't just been limited to social media, though that's certainly been a significant part of it. From Twitter to Instagram, people have been calling her out for what they see as hypocrisy, with some even labeling her the queen of double standards. One particularly viral tweet read, "Sunny Hostin loves to lecture everyone about morality, but where's that energy when it comes to her husband? Funny how quiet she gets when the tables are turned. Ouch." The comment section on posts about her has turned into a battleground, with supporters defending her integrity while critics pile on with memes and snide remarks.
One thing, and I would have even actually not give her any is she said, well, I guess that's just what they did back then.
Yeah.
She should have followed that up with saying something along the lines of, and I understand that that's a departure from the way I've talked about this before. That was to me, the one thing that was missing.
But perhaps the most intriguing part of this whole situation is Sunny's response, or lack thereof. For someone who's never shied away from a fight, her silence on certain aspects of the allegations against her husband has been deafening. Sure, she's issued statements through her lawyer, and she's spoken broadly about the case being a smear campaign, but she's been notably absent from the nitty-gritty details. And that absence has left the door wide open for speculation. Is she waiting for the legal dust to settle before she speaks out? Or is she simply trying to protect her own image by staying out of the fray? Either way, her silence is doing little to quell the criticism.
Exactly, because if she is shaming descendants of this, will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny, she is so wrapped up in identity and she had no idea who she was.
Interestingly, some of Sunny's past comments about accountability and justice are now being used against her. During one particularly fiery episode of The View, she once said, "If you have nothing to hide, then transparency shouldn't be an issue." That quote has been making the rounds online, with critics pointing out the irony given her current predicament. It's moments like these that make you realize just how much public figures are held to their own words, and how quickly those words can come back to haunt them. Then there's the professional fallout to consider. The View has always been a magnet for controversy, but this situation feels different. It's not just about a heated debate or an offhand comment, it's about one of their own being at the center of a legal scandal. How does the show navigate that? Do they address it head on, or do they let Sunny handle it on her own? And what about the other hosts? Whoopi Goldberg has already made it clear she's not one to mince words, but even she might tread carefully here. After all, as much as The View thrives on drama, there's a fine line between entertainment and real-life consequences.
I think no. I think that it's very helpful that he's handy, and when we travel, I'm not picking up any bags. He's the one that's hefting them overhead. He throws the garbage out. Right. He does the heavy stuff.
And let's not forget the broader cultural implications of this whole saga. In an era where public figures are constantly under the microscope, Sunny's situation serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of living in the spotlight. It's a reminder that when you build your brand on being outspoken and unapologetic, you have to be prepared for the backlash when things don't go according to plan. For Sunny, this isn't just a legal battle. It's a test of her resilience, her reputation, and her ability to navigate the choppy waters of public opinion.
It's kooky, and it seems like they're just leaning into it. Like there's no course correction at all. Just leaning into the kooky.
Yeah.
It's fun times.
Oh, yeah.
For comedy.
But here's the million-dollar question. Where does Sunny go from here? Does she double down and continue to defend her husband, even if it means risking further scrutiny? Or does she take a step back, focus on her family, and let the legal process play out? Either way, one thing is clear. This story is far from over. The legal battle is just beginning, the public discourse is heating up, and Sunny Hostin finds herself at the center of a storm she never saw coming. Whether she weathers it or gets swept away remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a wild ride. As the drama unfolds, it's impossible not to wonder what the lasting impact will be, not just on Sunny and her family, but on the broader conversation about accountability, justice, and the role of public figures in our society. Will this be a turning point for Sunny, forcing her to reassess her approach to public life? Or will it simply be another chapter in the ever-evolving saga of The View? Let's talk about it in the comments.